I'm Bob Science, PhD, and I'm here on the streets today to ask people exactly what they know about climate change. Now here, I think we've found a good person to ask for our first segment. Follow me. Excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about science?
Yeah.
So, first, do you think you can answer a question for me? Now, in your own words, how would you define the term consensus?
Isn't that just like when a lot of people agree on something?
You know, I think that's a very, very good way to put it. Thank you. Now, would you say that there is what you would call a scientific consensus among climate scientists on the causes and existence of climate change?
I mean, I don't know much about climate change. Like, people say the Earth's getting warmer, but I don't know what the consensus is behind it.
Understandable. Now, sir, what if I were to tell you that out of scientists who take a position on climate change, 97.1% of them agree that it is affected and caused, at least partially, by humans?
Oh heck, that's 97.1, that's sure a consensus right there. Like, there's no arguing with that.
Thanks to our friend there, we now have an idea about what the average Joe knows about climate change. Bob Science here, back with yet another interesting guest. Now, tell me, sir, what is your profession?
I am actually a climate scientist for Exxon.
Wow. Now, as a climate scientist, what is your position on climate change?
Well, Bob, I gotta say, climate change is definitely a possibility. I'm sorry, Bob, what were we talking about?
I was just asking your position on climate change.
Oh, well, I don't think climate actually is affected by human emissions. There's no such, I don't think that's possible.
But weren't you just saying
I have to.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Well, I'm sorry. Just one question.
No, I'm sorry, I have another later.
We got a meeting.
Well, ain't that some shit? First, we heard from an average Joe. Then we heard from a seemingly corrupt climate scientist for Exxon. I wonder who we'll hear from next. This is Bob Sy, signing out. Hey, Bob Sy here in the library, looking for a college student to find out what the younger generation thinks about climate change. Here's a college student now. Tell me, student, what do you know about climate change?
Well, climate change is definitely a real thing. According to my research, CO2 levels have risen by 40% since the Industrial Revolution, and since 1900, global average temperature has risen 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Not to mention, the sea level has risen 8 inches in the last century.
That's insane. Wow. That's some pretty convincing evidence. So much for a hoax by China. Bob Science, back with a quick recap of what we learned today. First of all, we learned that a consensus is a general agreement. We learned that 97% of trustworthy scientists believe in climate change. We learned that CO2 levels have risen 40% since the Industrial Revolution. And most importantly, we've learned that climate change is largely caused by human involvement. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Bob Sy, signing out. Sayonara.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land that you understand. Ocean man, the voyage to the corner of the globe is a real trip. Ocean man, the crust of a tan man and by the sand, soaking up the thirst of the land. Ocean man, can you see through
We definitely need that for the
friendly
intro.
neighborhood boomstick operator. You probably can't hear me because the boomstick's all the way over there, but you know it's hard carrying this heavy stick around my whole life. I was born with it. It's terrifying.